I call it vaudeville a tough act to follow. Everyone thinks vaudeville is dead. Yeah, it is. And yet it echoes into our present. You can, I guarantee you in the room here can finish this for me. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum. There, vaudeville. It's still in our cultural DNA and it's in our everyday language. For example, oh, hello. There you are. Break a leg comes from vaudeville. Stop the show from vaudeville. Knock them dead. Slay them comes from vaudeville. Lay them in the aisles. And let me assure you, that is a sexual statement. The idea was you had that audience so completely seduced, you could lay them back and lay them. That's exactly what it meant. Bring down the house, also part of vaudeville. To get or give the bird, when an audience get or gave you the bird. And the phrase, a tough act to follow. Remember, Ronald Reagan was going to be a tough act to follow, FDR, a tough act to follow. Well, so that's part of our culture. But before we get fully into vaudeville, it is National Beer Day. I know any number of people who will be thrilled to hear that. Celebrate at your happy leisure. It is also National Coffee Cake Day. Let's hear it for coffee cake. Yes, one of my favorite things on the planet. Now, you know that some of my other favorite things on this planet are books. I want to share an idea I saw in a meme earlier this week. Never in recorded history has a 4-year-old found his father's loaded book and accidentally killed his younger sister, but we ban books. All right, books are being banned all over this country. I'm talking Harry Potter gets banned. They still try to ban Huckleberry Finn after all these years. We're not just talking politically motivated books. So this is a key time for everyone here and within, the internet sound of my voice. Support your local library. Be there for them. Volunteer with your time. Volunteer with your money. If you have books that you're not using, many, like this library, have book sales. I donate easily within a year more than $1,000 worth of books to the book sale here every year, just because I have to make room for the next generation. My home is a library, as you would imagine. But yeah, do something. A little check, Mary Lynn will tell you, goes a long way. And a little time goes a long way. Wherever you are out there, support your library. Okay, let's go back to the 1840s. At that time, lower and working class men, not women, attended variety shows. Variety shows took place in taverns, in saloons. If anyone remembers Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty's bar was a variety house. So up on stage while the men were drinking, you'd have girls kicking away. You'd have comedians telling jokes. You'd have clowns and acrobats. And in the audience, you would have serving girls. That's a polite word for it, who were there to serve you drinks. And you see those little curtained mezzanine rooms? Well, those were little private rooms where they could serve you something else, if you were so inclined. And the comedy was coarse. No respectable woman would be seen in a variety theater. Then the population started to shift. We all remember in school learning about the Industrial Revolution. Well, when factories and offices became the new place to work, people who had grown up on farms gave up the farm and came to work in those offices and factories. And when they did, the work was drudgery, but unlike the farm where you worked from sunup to sundown, 7 days a week, 365 a year, you had at least one, maybe 2 days off a week. You had evenings free, and you didn't have radio yet, or television, or even recorded sound. You needed entertainment. And instead, they needed entertainment that would appeal to women as well as to men. And that's how vaudeville got started, thanks in part to this amazing man. Antonio Pastore or as he Americanized his name, Tony Pastor. Tony was a clown in circuses. He was also a singer with a lovely tenor voice and a bit of an acrobat. But then, as you can see, he loved his pasta. And eventually, acrobat became a bad idea for Tony. And so he started producing shows. But he was a devout Catholic family man. He wanted something he could bring his kids to. And so at his theater, which was at 585, 587 Broadway, and then eventually he moved into into other quarters. But that's where he started doing clean variety. And it was there that vaudeville really started to happen. Everybody could go. You could bring your mother. You could bring your pastor. You could bring your sister, a nun who was on a day off from the cloister, and nobody would be offended by what they saw. Here was his later theater, and you'll notice who the star act was. The Four Cohans, the biggest stars to come out of vaudeville at the start of it. George, his sister Josie, and his mom and his dad. George was amazing. He could write comedy material, compose great songs, write great lyrics. He was a director, a choreographer, an actor. He could, and eventually a top-rate Broadway producer when he moved on to Broadway. And he had his famous speech that he ended their act with. My mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I assure you, I thank you. They went on to Broadway stardom after having an argument with vaudeville management, and they never had to look back. But during the best of their career, they were the top paid four-act in vaudeville, which is no small accomplishment. Okay, come on. Now, Benjamin Keith and Edward Albee. If the name Edward Albee is familiar, his son adopted a kid and named him Edward Albee, the playwright. So the grandson, by adoption of this man, would write Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. He would have been scandalized beyond words. Keith and Albee took this idea of clean variety, and starting with a theater in Boston, they baptized it Vaudeville. Now, what does that name mean? Vaudeville. It's literally French, the voice of the city. But the origins of vaudeville are legend, like King Arthur and the Round Table. And the legend is that there was a red windmill, or as they say in French, a moulin rouge. And the owner would grind your wheat into flour. And while he did, he served coffee and snacks. And traveling players would come by and would entertain the customers. And this grew into a performance situation. And that was the beginning of vaudeville, which is why to this day in Paris, one of the most famous revues is staged at the Moulin Rouge. So that's where that all started. Okay. American vaudeville. You would come in to a theater. If you were in a smaller community, even here in Morristown, we had vaudeville. It would look something like this. Local businesses would advertise on the curtain. If you were in a big city like New York had more than 100 vaudeville theaters in its 5 boroughs. Every neighborhood had one. The larger ones had full symphony orchestras to accompany the performers. The least you had would be a pianist in your neighborhood. And the better the neighborhood, the better the pianist. Between 1905 and 1913, competition led to star-packed vaudeville bills at lower ticket prices. And that's when vaudeville attendance exploded. It had been big ever since the 1880s, but in the early 1900s, this was America's favorite form of entertainment. Attendance went from, we'll go once a week to going 2 to 3 times a week. Gee, making tickets affordable. Broadway, hi. Do we need to talk to you? Yeah. The Victoria, built by Oscar Hammerstein I, grandfather of the songwriter, his Victoria Theater grossed $20 million during the 17 years it presented vaudeville. His son, William Hammerstein, managed the theater and put on all kinds of sensational acts. including two Merry Murderesses from Chicago, which later inspired the musical Chicago. However, while that for a long time was the #1 vaudeville theater in the country, it was superseded by this one that still joyfully operates just as it did then, only it's no longer vaudeville. That is the entrance to the Palace Theater, which has since been lifted 40 feet up in the air, as you may know, so they could put more retail on the ground floor. Here is what the interior looked like before its recent renovation. In this room on Monday mornings, all the booking agents in New York would come to see the new acts. And if you made a good impression, you were going to book well for the year ahead. So everyone wanted to play the Palace. They frequently took a cut in salary just to play the Palace. Still a magnificent space. I love this theater. Though I'll admit, you see that second balcony up there? Siberia. You don't want to sit up there unless they're holding a gun to your head, but I've seen shows from up there. There are worse things in this world. Here you see Chico Marx at the street corner, when he and his brothers wound up on the bill, as it's called, the list of performers at the Palace Theater. You will notice, however, they're not the headliners. Catherine Calvert was, but they're just 2 slots down. They are ahead of Will Rogers. They were hot stuff when they got that high on the bill. Sex, race, ethnicity, none of those kept you from having a successful career in vaudeville. And while there was black vaudeville specifically for certain parts of the country, beyond those southern Jim Crow states, black performers played in the finest vaudeville theaters regardless of race. In 1919, the average factory worker in this country made $25 a week and was happy to get it. At that time, a small-time vaudeville act earned $75 a week. Big-time headliners up to $5,000 a week. So you could make stellar money, and the money went even higher than that for certain people. Here, for example, is Bob Hope's 1 year in vaudeville. And you'll notice it takes him from New York to New Orleans to San Antonio to San Diego to Oakland, Portland, Seattle, and even Calgary in Alberta. You would play 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe a split week here and a split week there. But on average, a successful vaudevillian would work more than 40 weeks a year and sock that money away, and then enjoy something of a summer vacation in various locales. There were certain places that just loved to welcome vaudevillians on vacation. What could be a vaudeville act? Damn near anything that might entertain an audience for 10 to 15 minutes. When I say anything, I mean anything. For example, the opening act would always be something silent, because people during the opening act would be settling in their seats, would be putting away their newspapers, would be getting themselves comfortable, noshing on a snack, drinking a drink. So you would have something like an acrobat act, animals, tumblers. Here you've got the Keatons, and that little kid is baby Buster Keaton. By age 3, he was stealing the act. He and his father would beat the living heck out of each other 2 to 3 times a day, and audiences loved it. He would get thrown into the orchestra pit. He would get thrown through the wall of the set. And that's how he learned to do all the physical comedy that became part of his great silent film career. Animal acts, dog acts were terribly popular. Why do you think we still watch all those damn dog and cat videos online? We love watching animals carry on. The second slot in an average typical vaudeville show would be either singing sisters or dancing brothers. There were rarely dancing sisters. So, for example, you had the Gum Sisters, these 3 young charmers, and there in the front is little baby Frances Gum. She had this amazing adult belt voice by the age of 6. And she would just Yeah, da, da, da. And if she looks familiar to you, that's because she, of course, became the one and only Judy Garland. Na, 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 na. Bear with me just a moment. Abahum, where are you? Okay. You need to go away so that we can see. Thank you. That's not the Nicholas brothers. That, of course, is Fred and Adele Astaire, a brother and sister act. But the Nicholas brothers, these two black brothers, were at the top of vaudeville's food chain. But they never got to the top of Hollywood's food chain because they were black. They were always second slotted, third slotted because they were not white. And yet they are two of the most amazing dancers America has ever given birth to. Here they are, and that's with Cab Calloway leading the way. But if you've never seen this clip before, I hope you've got your seatbelts on. That was from Stormy Weather, by the way. Ow! Just ow! Ooh. Now, here, ladies and gentlemen, the real, the only, hold on, make this go away. There, that is Baby June Havoc, the character who's at the heart of the musical Gypsy, and that's her on her magical dancing toes. She could dance on point from infancy, which was probably a disastrous thing to do to her. She spent her later years with terrible foot problems, but her career went on. Hello, where are you? Come on. There you go. There she is, Dainty June, as she was later called, and her newsboys. But you'll notice the second newsboy is no boy. That's her sister, Louise, better known to the world of burlesque as Gypsy Rose Lee. Dainty June Havoc and Company, the darling of vaudeville with her newsboy songsters, a major act, all memorialized in the musical Gypsy. Talent was not enough. You needed star quality. You needed something that made an audience react to you. You didn't have to be beautiful. You didn't have to be the best dancer or the best singer. You had to have that personality that enchanted people from a stage to a live audience. The best example of that comes from this classic Warner Brothers cartoon with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck.
Okay, this performance will prove I'm the star. There can only be one explanation for white tile in a dressing room, and that's it. Try not to trip me up with those big feet, please. I'll try, Davy. We're on! Listen to that! They love me! I'm sick of people taking bows for my talent. Now do your own dance. I challenge you. Dance if you're not a coward. Hardy, har, har. If they like that mess, they're starving for some real hoofing. I'll kill 'em. Music, maestro, please. E flat from the top.
Two things. When the Astairs danced, audiences loved Adele. They kind of felt sorry for poor Fred. He'll never be the star his sister is. That was the feeling. Not until she went off to become a lady, marrying a lord in England, did he get solo stardom. And the word hoofing, that comes from vaudeville. Your first day in a new vaudeville theater, if you were a dancer, you told the band leader what to do, or the pianist. But they had 10 other acts to worry about. So when you got up there, you had to hoof the stage with your foot like a horse to give them the proper beat for your music. So the dancers came to be known as hoofers. There were times when, in fact, talent had nothing to do with it. The most infamous case is the Cherry Sisters. Their act lasted through the last 40 years of vaudeville. Now, you'll notice they are actual sisters, by the way. And what you may kind of notice here is they're wearing waterproof outfits. Their outfits have been, galvanized. There's a reason for that. Their act was so blanking terrible, was so off key, was so off rhythm, was so utterly inane that audiences came armed with eggs, fruit, anything that they could throw at the stage. And what management did when the Cherry Sisters performed is they would drop a net in front of the stage to catch all of the debris. But when you throw fruit or eggs, stuff gets through. So they had to wear these. That's how bad they were. And they would sue any critic who suggested their act was not wonderful. So they were fascinating. And then there was Eddie Foy. He was a top musical theater star. And he was also he and his wife were extremely fecund. They had 7 kids. And then his wife died of an illness. And suddenly he was stuck raising 7 kids. So the only way he could raise them and pay for them was to drag them out on the road in vaudeville, all 7 of them. 7 of the most talentless little so-and-sos you've ever seen in your life. And people went to see them make idiots of themselves. The oldest one, Eddie Jr., would go on to minor stardom in later years. You've probably seen him in Pajama Game, where he plays Heinze. I would trust her. Oh, God, I swear I would trust her. He was a great comedian in his own right. And he played his father in Yankee Doodle Dandy opposite Jimmy Cagney. The first act closer would either be an old act on the way down or a new act on the way up. For example, Ethel Barrymore, the great classical actress, became the first major Broadway star to deign to perform one-act plays in vaudeville. Why are you doing that? She said, for $4,000 a week. That's why I'm doing it. And it was good money. And she would return to vaudeville whenever her bank account needed a boost. And then you might have someone like Saul Ginsberg. Saul Ginsberg, I'm saying it the way he did, or as he called himself on stage, Saul Violinsky. What made him a vaudeville star? We have a little footage of him to show you.
My next I have to offer for you is my own original idea of playing the violin and piano violin and piano at the same time.
Amazing. That was a melody, by the way, popularity, written by George M. Cohan. Now, the second act opener, there was always an intermission. You got to sell those snacks and drinks. The second act opener was a physically big act. So maybe a big animal act, like a larger animals than dogs, or it would be a big band like Paul Whiteman and his orchestra if you were at one of the really great theaters in a big city. The next to closing, however many acts you had, would be the headliner, the star, the one everyone turned out for. And some of these names still echo into our present. Eva Tangway, she would clock nearly a mile during a single performance. That's how much she ran around the stage. Her most famous number was, I don't care what people think of me. She was a huge star. She was also someone who lived very large, died arthritic and bankrupt in a Chicago tenement. Ooh, sad. Lillian Russell, who had the amazing hourglass figure. She was a Broadway star, but in later years did her work in vaudeville, where audiences lined up to hear her sing Come Down My Evening Star. The Great Sandow. This is the act that made Ziegfeld a wealthy producer. That man at the bottom was the world's first great bodybuilder. And I don't know if I fully believe that he is supporting all that weight. But when I tell you he had an 8-pack, and if you look online, you can find very revealing photos of that 8-pack, the man was a sex symbol for women to enjoy long before that was fashionable. Then there was Sophie Tucker, the great, incredible Sophie Tucker. The dirty jokes that Bette Midler is famous for were not part of Sophie's vaudeville days. But Sophie always loved to push the envelope. She didn't get dirty, but she was as far as you could go. Her songs included Some of These Days You're Gonna Miss Me, Honey, or songs like I've Got a Cross-Eyed Papa, but He Looks Straight to Me. And every now and then, on a Monday morning, your first time performing at any location, if you were there for a full week, you had to check your mailbox after the show. If Oh, yeah. See, there was this rule. And this is what hung backstage at all of the Keith Albee theaters. Don't say slob or hully gee on this stage unless you want to be canceled. If you utter anything sacrilegious or suggestive, you will be immediately closed and never again allowed in a theater where Mr. Keith is in authority. And they were not kidding. A blue envelope with a blue piece of paper in your mailbox would tell you, in this area, we have a lot of Jews. Get rid of the Jewish references in your act. Or we have people who will take offense at this Catholic joke. You would have to cut whatever they told you to cut. That's why dirty jokes eventually came to be known as blue material, or dirty movies were called blue movies because of these blue envelopes. Yet another legacy from vaudeville. Now, when I say anything could be a hit vaudeville act, one of the biggest stars vaudeville ever had was Haj Ali. Haj Ali, was he really Arabian? I don't know. I never met him. Haj Ali was a stage name, after all. He was the most famous regurgitator in vaudeville. If you think I'm kidding, here he is in action.
Salute, signore, signora. Patronio.
That's what Grandma and Grandpa paid top dollar to see. Julian Eltinge. Here you see him in, oh, sorry. Now behave. Do not misbehave. Behave. Come on. Oi. Bear with us. They misbehaved earlier, so it just needs a little encouragement. No, up one. Get in. Get in, you dirty rat. The technology. Yes, okay. It's coming back. It's back. It's back. Julian Eltinge, you see him there as he would appear on the street, and you see him there as he appeared on stage. He was vaudeville's top female impersonator. He was a man who never married, who lived to an old age with his mother. And if you ever dared suggest he was not a heterosexual, he would beat you till you bled. But there's almost no question that his sexuality was a question mark. Another famous drag queen in vaudeville was this man. Oh, hold on. Grab Having one of those days. Come on. Come on. There we go. Come on. Why are you behaving that way? Reconnect. Let's restart you that way. Right, no, back up. There we are. And put you back. And that should do it. Yep. Bert Savoy. Bert Savoy is the gentleman in the dress. His partner in life and on stage is next to him, straight man, pardon the expression, Jay Brennan. He would wear the most couture gowns from Paris, and he would come out, and his act included such lines as, "Hi, fella, why don't you come up and see me?" Sound familiar? Something that a lady named Mae West would borrow. He was known for his over-the-top sense of comedy, and he had just signed to do his first sound film in Hollywood. When he went out to Long Beach, Long Island with some friends, was walking along, a thunderclap went through the sky, and he said, "Ain't Miss God carrying on something awful?" And at that moment was struck dead by a bolt of lightning. Watch out what you say about Miss God. His gowns were just stunning. And of course, Jay Brennan never fully recovered from the loss of his partner. There's a much personally colorized, just to give them a little bit more humanity. Comedians. Oh my God. The legacy of vaudeville is the comedians. What began in burlesque came to its fruition in vaudeville. We talked a month ago about Joe Weber and Lou Fields, the two nice Jewish boys from the Lower East Side who became Mike and Meyer and would do the jokes, "I'm delightfulness to meet you. The disgust is all mine." And their infamous joke, "Who was that woman I saw you meet last night?" "That was no woman, that was my wife." They inspired a generation of the best. Bob Hope, Jack Benny, Jimmy Durante, Milton Berle. Now, Milton Berle was famous for handling hecklers. He became a genius at it, so much so that he scripted hecklers and planted them in the audience to get things going. And later on television, he turned it into a regular routine. Here he is during a guest appearance on The Muppet Show, being heckled by the ultimate audience hecklers.
Thank you, and good evening. And I want to thank you, Kermit. Thank you for your wonderful introduction. First time I've ever been introduced by an amphibious MC. Because you know what amphibious means. It means he can be dull on land or water. I feel great. I feel wonderful. I just got back from a pleasure trip. I took my mother-in-law to the airport. And while I was there... Funny! I heard about them. It's beginning. You're the two guys that I heard about that heckle from the box, aren't you? There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Get a look at them. Starsky and Crutch. Yeah, don't start with me, boys. Don't start with me, please.
Hey, Burl.
What?
You know what? I've just figured out your style.
Really?
You work like Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck's not a comedian.
Well?
Now, just a minute, please. I have been a successful comedian half of my life.
How come we got this half?
Look, did you come in here to be entertained or not?
That's right.
What's right?
We came in here to be entertained, and we're not.
Oh, yeah? I'd like to see you come down here and be funny.
You first.
The audience. Don't pay any attention to him, folks. He's the 9th child of a family of 8. Let me tell this story.
Hey, Burl.
Oh, yes, what is it? What is it?
You know what you're doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong?
You're standing too close to the audience.
Oh, yeah? Now, how's this?
You're still too close.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this okay?
Yeah, a little more.
How far back do you want me to go?
You got a car?
I was... Let me tell you something. If you don't stop, I'll have the usher throw you out.
He can't. He's too busy.
Doing what?
Keeping people in.
And you're encouraging me. That's what you're doing. You know, I got a good mind to punch you in your nose.
Please, not while I'm holding it.
That's pretty funny.
Ah, you can use it.
I can use it. I don't need your material, pal. I got a million funny lines in the back of my head.
Yeah, how come they never reach your mouth?
Gentlemen, will you please? Will you take it easy? Do you think I'm doing this for fun?
Not so far.
Oh, I see. You think you can do better?
I couldn't do worse.
All right. Okay. I dare you both to come down here and entertain.
We should.
Oh, yeah? Do you sing?
No?
Do you dance?
No?
Can you get laughs?
No?
Then what would you do?
Just what you're doing.
Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm going to call the police.
Good idea. You need all the protection you can get.
Don't, will you? I've had it with you guys. I'm not going to put up with you anymore. Anymore. Not anymore.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. Burrow?
Oh, I'm going to start with you now. How's it going? It's going terribly. These guys have been picking on me, insulting me ever since I started.
Well, can I help you out?
Please, huh?
Which way did you come in?
W.C. Fields did not start as a comedian. He started as the greatest juggler in show business. He was astounding. But then and he almost never dropped anything. But on the rare occasions he did, he started making cute little wisecracks about where he was, and it turned out to be a riot. He became one of the top acts in vaudeville and one of the top paid acts. But there was one act he refused to ever follow. He was set to follow them once, and he stood watching what went on stage and said, "That is it." He walked over to the manager and said, "I've got Noxix on my Canoxix. I've got to go see my specialist in New York. Bye." And he would never again share a bill with these four lunatics, better known to us as the Marx Brothers. Oh, Lord. And they, of course, are a totally separate subject, and I won't even try to get into it here. Thank God Hollywood preserved so much of their genius. Now, one person Hollywood almost completely ignored was comedienne Trixie Fraganza. She was, to put it mildly, loved. Audiences would greet her with standing ovations. It was like your Italian aunt had come to town. They adored this woman. Was she beautiful? No. Was she a great singer? No. Was she a great dancer? No. But she was funny AF. Let me show you what I mean.
A little girl named Lulu went down to Honolulu to learn to do the hula hoo. But one day little Lula broke her hula when she fell upon her wicky wacky woo. Now this little girl named Lulu who went to Honolulu to learn to do the hula hoo. No more can do the hula. Poor little Lula. For a hula is all black and blue. Ring-a-ding-a-dum-a-ding-a-dum.
Audiences adored her. Now, in the South, of course, theaters were segregated, and that included vaudeville theaters. Black audiences were not permitted in white theaters, nor black performers. So you had the Theater Owners Booking Associates, who ran a chain of black vaudeville theaters in southern cities, TOBA, or as black performers described it, tough on black asses. You got paid a lot less, but you could get away with a lot more. The clean rules did not apply in Toba theaters. So you would get numbers like, you got the right key, but the wrong keyhole. I couldn't get along with you to save my soul. What? You couldn't do that in a Keith theater, but they had no problem in the Toba theaters. That's where Bill Robinson, the great Bojangles, cut his dancing talent. Ethel Waters, beginning as Lady Stringbean, of all things, because she was so thin and emaciated when she started her career. And the Will Maston trio, Will Maston's godson in the middle there, little Sammy Davis Jr., who would go on to such fame in his own right. What killed vaudeville? Well, theater and cast costs soared. This is a Keith Albee theater that was built in a not very large city in West Virginia. How did you think you were going to fill 3,000 seats 8 days, 7 days a week in West Virginia? It was so lavish. They were competing with the great movie palaces being built by the big movie companies. And performers just became more and more expensive. Cheaper options came along, like sound film. Why pay to see a performer on stage who's maybe very good, but for less, I can see Al Jolson on a big screen and really see him up close, even if I'm sitting in the back of the theater. And then came this beast, radio. And radio was one of the final nails in the coffin, along with the Great Depression. All of those things ganged up. And then there was the Kennedy assassination. I don't mean the terrible ones that took place in 67 or in 1963. I'm referring to one that took place at the end of the 1920s. You remember Mr. Albee? Well, Mr. Keith by now was dead, and Albee was the most powerful and the most hated man in American show business. He was rotten to performers. He was rotten to his people. He was rotten to the core. He was even rotten to his son and his grandson. And he came up against someone who was more rotten than he was, Joseph Kennedy. Joseph Kennedy owned a movie company that needed theaters. And so he teamed up with Keith, and they called it Radio Keith Orpheum, RKO. So that's where RKO Pictures comes from. And he depicted it to Albee as, you and I will be partners here. And for the one time in his life, he didn't get his lawyers to really go over the paperwork, because in the paperwork, Kennedy had total control of the result. Albee came in to work the following Monday morning and was informed his services were no longer required. When he died, practically no one attended the funeral. As for Mr. Kennedy, he turned all of those RKO Pictures thrived. It was always going to have trouble as a financial entity. But this is what the palace looked like when it first opened. Then it was called B.F. Keith's Palace because Keith owned it, but it soon became the RKO Palace. And it was as a movie theater that it eventually switched back to being the legit theater it is today. June Havoc said, show business as I knew it simply dwindled and vanished before my eyes. I was a displaced person. I didn't understand it. I only felt it. The lucky ones moved on to radio, moved on to film, eventually to television. All the stars of MGM's Wizard of Oz came from the world of vaudeville. And that shows in their performance. When Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, both graduates of vaudeville, and oh, how that filled their screen performances. There are several lasting legacies of vaudeville beyond the ones I've mentioned so far. One of them was variety shows. When Ed Sullivan introduced the Beatles, that same night, he also introduced America to the Broadway cast of the new hit Oliver. All in the course of just one evening, you would have opera singers, Broadway shows, and the latest pop group, whoever they might be. And of course, he always threw in the old vaudeville acts, like plate spinners. You never knew who would show up on Ed Sullivan. The Carol Burnett Show. That was pure vaudeville. She had every great singer and comedian of her day on that show, from Lucille Ball to Mama Cass Elliot. Everybody showed up on Carol Burnett. And when they spoofed things in their comedy acts, it's still some of the greatest comedy America has ever seen. Saturday Night Live continues that tradition that's Harvey Fierstein, by the way, carrying on. But you have music and you have comedy. Some of the funniest stuff that's on TV today. Another lasting legacy of vaudeville, the theaters. Yeah, a lot of them rotted away, but some of them are still major venues all across the United States. Here is the newly renovated Palace Theater, as it looks today. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Now, if only they could put a good musical into it. Notice, though, they got rid of the crystal chandelier and they put in that thing with folds in it, which looks like a Chinese lantern gone crazy. I don't know what led them to put that in there. It's where the musical Lost Boys is currently playing. I'm not going to make any predictions because I haven't seen it yet. Never to this day has a vampire musical succeeded. Maybe this one can be the lucky one. One more lasting legacy of vaudeville, the Great American Songbook. It comes from vaudeville. All of these songs that were turned out by the Tin Pan Alley publishers and publicized across the country by great vaudeville performers. That's Tin Pan Alley, West 28th Street in Manhattan, where all the music publishers were there. And vaudeville performers, when they came to New York, would go from publisher to publisher, would audition songs. And if they picked, okay, we're going to do this one, they would give you so many copies of that song with your picture on it, and you would then sell it as you toured the country. Irving Berlin cut his teeth writing great songs for vaudeville. That's where he made his money long before radio, television, or sound film came into it. Two people who came from this world were Judy Garland and Fred Astaire. They grew up in vaudeville. They grew up performing the songs of Irving Berlin. And in the late 1940s, when MGM decided to do the movie Easter Parade, the two of them and Irving Berlin together, this is the legacy of vaudeville at its finest.
Do you know this song?
Yes.
I'd like to hear you sing it, please.
All right.
Get over there where I can see you, please.
I love the piano, I love the piano, I love to hear somebody play upon a piano, a grand piano, it simply carries me away. I know a fine way to treat a Steinway. I love to run my fingers o'er the keys, the ivories, and with the pedal, I love to meddle when Paderewski comes this way. I'm so delighted if I'm invited to hear the long-haired genius play. So you can keep your fiddle and your bow, give me a P-I-A-N. Oh, 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 I love to stop right beside an upright or a high-tone baby grand.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Is it?
Wonderful.
All right.
That's great.
Yes, I know it.
Good girl. Cross. That's fine. Now, around. Oh, yes.
Stop right beside an upright or a high-tone baby grand. long he calls her Snooky Ookums, Snooky Ookums. All they do is talk like babies. She's his jelly Ellie roll.
He's her shuggy ooger bowl. Here's the way they bill and coo. Pudgy woo, pudgy woo, pudgy woo.
All night long he calls her Snooky Ookums, Snooky Ookums. All night long the neighbors shout, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. They cry, for goodness sake, don't keep us all awake with your Snooky Ookie Ookie baby talk.
Fiddle up on your violin, lay right on it, rest your chin upon it. Doggone, you better begin and play an overture upon your violin. Hurry up with your violin, make it sooner, don't you stop the tuner. Fit, fiddle the middle of your ragtime violin.
Choo-choo leaves for Alabama.
Alabama.
I'll be right there.
Where you be?
I've got my fare.
Show to me.
When I see that rusty-haired conductor man,
What do you do?
I'll grab him by the collar and I'll holler, Alabama, Alabama.
Wow.
That's where you stop your train. That brings me back again, down home where I'll remain, where my honey lands. And I will be right there with bells when that old conductor yells, all aboard, all aboard, all aboard for Alabama. I will be right there with bells when that old conductor yells, all aboard, all aboard, all aboard for
An amazing legacy. And I want to thank you all for joining me to celebrate it tonight. I'm going to be back here on Tuesday, May 5th to talk about the Borscht Belt and the comic legacy of the Catskills. This is one of the most popular talks I've ever given. I'm glad to share it with you all next month. Come, bring your laugh track with you because we're going to have a great time. Jokes galore. Okay, the book, the website, we all know about those things. Let's move on to getting some questions. First, I'll take questions from here in the room, and then I will look online. First of all, anybody here have any questions? Going once, going twice. I'll offer a chance for more questions later. Let me look at what we have in comments. I specifically moved to Hapatcong because of its vaudeville roots. Have been looking forward. Oh, I'm glad you did. David Arquette has a club called Bootsy Bellows in LA, all vaudeville. Wish we had something like that here. Yes, I do too. It was like the vaudeville, the YouTube of its time. Absolutely correct. It was. I first heard of Cab Calloway when he collaborated with Janet Jackson. He did so much more than that. He is amazing. Don't let the TikTok generation see this. Oh, let them. Let them see what they've missed. Bob Hope played Eddie Foy, yes, in the biopic Seven Little Foys. Was Belle Barth in vaudeville? No, she was nightclubs. If you don't know, Belle Barth was famous for doing raunchy comedy albums live based on her club act. She had such lines as when someone would heckle her, she'd say, "Shut your hole, honey, mine's making money." Yeah. So that was a little different. Love the Beatles? Well, don't we all? I do too. Are there any performers these days who have the kind of breadth of talent and personality? Oh, hell yes. There's tons of great talent out there. So many. Good Lord. If you gave Daniel Radcliffe, Jonathan Groff, any of the great Broadway performers that kind of platform, I'm sure they'd put together a great act. And what do you think Vegas and Atlantic City are? Those are vaudeville on another scale. And definitely the stand-up comedians, they're all part of that as well. How does vaudeville influence musical theater today? Bum, ba, 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 right there. It's in the way we will. I'm preparing talks for a series I'm going to give this fall in New York on the musicals of Stephen Sondheim. And if you know, the wonderful musical company, that includes a number Side by Side. Side by Side, isn't it warm? Isn't it rosy? Side by side. Da, 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 da. That is pure vaudeville from Stephen Sondheim. And vaudeville type numbers show up in so many musicals. In Godspell, what do you think? When you feel sad or under a curse, your life is bad, your prospects are worse. Your wife is sighing, crying, and your olive tree is dying. Temples are graying and teeth are decaying and creditors weighing your purse. All of that is pure vaudeville. So yeah, it is alive and still kicking in great Broadway musicals today. And one more time, any questions or comments here? Then I will say to everyone online, everyone here, stay safe. Let's hope the world is still as peaceful as it was when we left it at 7 p.m. And everyone get home safe. And I hope to see you in the near future back here next month. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Woo.